It is my great pleasure to introduce you to my colleague, retired Brigadier Dani Hall, Provincial Commander of Serious Corruption in Mpumalanga, South Africa. Dani and I have been friends and colleagues for almost 30 years. Hello, Dani.
Hi, Mickey. Hope you're well. It's good to join you.
Thank you. Dani, you've had a remarkable career. You joined the South African Police Force in 1985, fresh out of school. And you worked in the notorious Hillbrow in 1987, where your career and life almost ended as a bullet narrowly missed your head. Yet this did not deter you, and after 40 years in the force, you retired as a brigadier just a month or so ago. In 1996, Dani became a murder and robbery detective, and shortly after, our paths crossed during the saloon killer serial killer investigation. But that is a topic for our next podcast. Today, we're talking about women who kill. In 2015, 38-year-old Louisa van Niekerk approached a man with a request to kill her husband, Daniel Tredu van Niekerk. They were divorced, but they shared the same house. What Louisa did not know is that the hitman immediately informed the Hawks, and Dani set up a hit of his own. Dani, tell us how you trapped her.
Hi, Mickey. Yeah, it was quite interesting. I was sitting in my office one day and this guy walked into our office at the DPCI in Middelburg. And he was brought to my office by a colleague and said, you must listen to this guy's story. And he informed me that he was asked by the accused to arrange a hitman. And at first I didn't believe it. And I asked him to give her a call. And then after that, I realized, but this accused is really serious to get rid of her husband. So what we then did is we applied for a Section 252A authority, and we introduced a agent of the Hawks as a so-called hitman to negotiate with her to assassinate the husband. They then met, and we recorded the conversations, and she promised him 100,000 rand that will be paid out of the life insurance policy after the murder has been committed. Now, during this conversation, Mickey, it came out that she said she tried to kill him herself a while back by giving him some RD-COP, or more commonly known as two-step, but that he survived. So we set up the trap, and then she also handed over the remote and keys of the house the day of the planning, and she went to work. It was handed over to our agent. Now, all this was recorded and properly documented. And then thereafter, I approached her and I informed her that this is indeed a police operation and that she is under arrest. She then confessed. We took her to the office and also then called the husband from which he was divorced and informed him about the plan to assassinate him. During our follow-up investigation, we indeed then confirmed that the husband fell very, very sick one day at work, and he said he drank some cool drink because he was scheduled for a medical examination, and the doctor advised him to take a lot of fluid. And he said, yeah, there was a bitter smell also in the cold drink. And he fell very sick and he was taken to hospital by ambulance, and he nearly died. So at the time, they did not determine that it was actually RD-COP or poison, and they then transferred him back to Middelburg. And they thought it was just part and parcel of his medical condition. We then obtained a search warrant and we searched the house, and we then recovered the RD-COP two-step poison in a cupboard in the house, which was confirmed by the forensic lab to be RD-COP. So yeah, if it was not for our intervention, I believe that the husband would have been killed. She also indicated that she asked other people to do the job, but they took her for a ride and they ran away with the money. So she was very desperate to indeed assassinate him.
What was her motive?
Well, she claimed she was abused over a long period of time. although she was divorced, they still stayed together in the same house.
Louisa never actually went to prison. What was her sentence and what happened there?
Well, she was convicted for the attempted murder and also for conspiracy to commit murder with the agent. She got a 6 years sentence for the attempted murder, of which 5 years was suspended, and for conspiracy 5 years and 1 year suspended. She also was placed under a 30-month supervision, as they call it, house arrest, after the court case.
Okay, so that court case was in 2017, and in that same year, you arrested 53-year-old, she was Maria Ferreira, but we know her as Mariki Ferreira, for hiring a hitman to kill her husband, Carlos Ferreira. Tell us about the attempt on Carlos's life.
Yeah, Mickey, that was actually a very urgent operation that we had to conduct. So it started off by Mariki wanted a hitman to assassinate her husband. So they had a lodge in Mozambique, and there was a time period of a weekend where she came to White River with the husband, and she wanted the husband to be assassinated that weekend. So when the informer informed me that Mariki wanted her husband to be killed, we then realized, but if we do not arrest her now, she might go back to Mozambique and get somebody else to assassinate him. So we also, like the other case, we introduced our agent as a hitman there. And the hitman communicated with her. And they met that Saturday, of the Sunday morning, at the filling station in White River. And she also promised him that she will pay him out after the life policy will pay out, and she then handed over money for him for petrol. All this was recorded, and once we had the evidence and she walked away, I followed her and I called her name, and she turned around. I said, Mariki, this game is over. And then we seized a tablet, and we even found evidence where she communicated with the informer about plans to assassinate her husband, promising him that she will give him a stand at the lodge. Yeah, she was so arrogant, Mickey, she even had a plan A and a plan B. The plan B was that she will give him an overdose of drugs and then claim that he was a drug addict. And then the second plan was then to get a hitman to assassinate him. And yeah, when she discussed it with the agent, she said he must make sure that he kills him, and he must shoot him twice in the head.
She was not only arrogant, sorry, she was also callous, because, those tapes, at some stage, she's talking about killing her husband and then talking about stopping next to the road to buying avocados as well in the same sort of sentence.
Yeah, so she said, well, the plan is that she will stop on the way back from White River. She will stop alongside the road to buy some avos. And then while they are there, the agent must come out and shoot the husband and make it look like a robbery that went wrong. And I discussed it later with the prosecutor. I said, yes, can you imagine this woman want to kill her husband? He gets shot in front of her, lying there, bleeding to death. And then she take the avos and go back to Mozambique and that night enjoy it, the avos. So yeah, that was a bit strange to me.
But Mariki had a bit of a dark history. I mean, he was her third husband. What happened there?
Yeah, Mickey, the one husband apparently died of cancer, but the other one was quite interesting. She was residing in Bronkhorstspruit at some stage, and the husband was killed alongside the road.
This is Alan Hepburn. Alan Hepburn.
Yes, that's correct. And apparently she was identified by the detectives there as a possible person of interest. Now, from my engagement with the unit commander at the time, he said when they came to the scene, she actually gave them a lecture on cell phone mapping and explained to them that she's got an alibi for this. And as time went on, they asked her to come in for a polygraph. She then immediately contacted advocate, and she claimed she was advised not to take the polygraph. Then later on, she decided she will indeed do so. But when she arrived at the office that morning, she decided not to take the polygraph, which was for me very, very strange because she was not a suspect from the start. But I think, yeah, looking at the facts today, and the modus operandi, it looks like she might have been involved in that case as well.
But she eventually went to prison. What happened to her? What was her sentence and what happened to her?
Yeah, she pleaded guilty, Mickey. She received a 12 years sentence, of which 5 years were suspended, and she indeed went to prison. I later learned that she passed away in prison due to natural causes. So yeah, she's no longer with us.
What was Carlos's reaction when you informed him his wife wanted to kill him?
He was shocked, Mickey. Remember, they were together in White River preparing a braai at the informer's house. And when I called him and said he must come to the office, and said your wife was about to assassinate you, if it was not for our intervention, maybe in an hour or two from now, you would have been a dead guy. So yeah, he was actually, I think, relieved also, because there was some red flags in the past that he was concerned about. He was also concerned about the fact that she was indeed a suspect in the case of a former husband. So yeah, he was very shocked and he couldn't believe it.
But she also alleged abuse, that he abused her.
She alleged that in court, Mickey, but there was no evidence that we could find that indeed that was the case. I think it was all about money. They were in a bit of financial difficulty because of her expenditure, and I think she wanted to take over the lodge and keep on running the business in Mozambique.
And
that's why she also promised the informer to give him a stand there after the murder.
To me, what was interesting, I mean, she plotted to kill him, yet he even visited her in prison. Okay, all right, we get to the third one, Ronel Botma. Now, I know you didn't work on this case, but the policeman once commented, what is it about the woman of Mpumalanga? For in 2013, now this was the same year that Carlos had met Mariki, but there was the third woman, the 54-year-old Ronel Botma, and she pleaded guilty to murdering her husband, Siciliato. Now, tell us about this one. Although you didn't work on it, you do know about the case.
Yes, Mickey, I know about the local detectives investigated the case here in Middelburg, and they did some brilliant work. So she also got a domestic worker involved and claimed that she was also abused over a long period of time, and then also the husband was then murdered. I think she got a 9-year sentence in the trial in High Court. She appealed the sentence, and later on she only received a suspended sentence or custodian sentence. Yeah, so that was a bit of a surprise to me.
Yes, I mean, her husband was stabbed 23 times, and he was strangled, and there was a staged robbery. And yes, you're right. She received the sentence of 9 years, but in this year, 2026, it was reduced to 3 years correctional supervision based upon long-term abuse. Okay, and she can leave her home between 8 and 5 to go to work, 20 hours of community service and counseling sessions. Okay, now these were abused women who perhaps felt they had no option to kill their husbands, or did they? Please subscribe to my Patreon account to listen to a detective's perspective on the debate regarding whether the reduced sentences are appropriate when abuse is proven, but premeditated murder is involved.